We've unmuted, so you're.
Good morning, everyone. It is now 10:03. The quarterly meeting of the Executive Committee for the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council will come to order. I want to welcome you guys to our July quarterly meeting. Hope everyone is doing well on this morning. Will Ebony Haven please call the roll for attendance, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Jill Hano,
Here.
Miss Angela Harmon, you have to come off on mute.
Here. I'm trying to get it off mute. I got
Oh, okay.
it. Thanks.
Miss Brooke Stewart,
Here.
Mr. Eric Taylor,
Here.
and Miss Renata Washington.
Here.
You have 5 and you have a quorum.
Thank you, Ebony. At this time, we will have you again to read the mission statement and the ground rules.
Yes, ma'am. The mission statement for the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council is to increase independence, self-determination, productivity, integration, and inclusion for Louisianians with developmental disabilities by engaging in advocacy, capacity building, and systems change. The ground rules are: members must be recognized by the chair before speaking, be respectful of each other's opinions, break for 10 minutes every 1.5 hours, discuss council business in a responsible manner, except as necessary, restrict the use of electronic communication, i.e. texting, during council and committee meetings, silence or turn off all cell phones, be on time for meetings, no alphabets, and side conversations are kept to a minimum, done quietly, and restricted to the subject at hand.
Thank you so much, Ebony. To ensure the meeting runs smoothly and that we all can participate in an orderly manner, please adhere to the following rules. For committee members and members of the public attending in person, please raise your hand to speak and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking. To help the meeting run smoothly, please keep side conversations to a minimum and comments related to the topic we are discussing. For those committee members who are attending virtually, remember you must be on camera and have your first and last name showing to be counted toward our quorum. Please keep microphones muted unless called upon by the chair. Electronically raise your hand to request to speak and wait to be called on by the chair. For attendees, electronically raise your hand to request to speak. Once recognized by the chair, your microphone will be turned on. After speaking, the microphone will be returned to mute. Also, the Q&A is to only be used by those needing an ADA accommodation to participate in the meeting. Public comment will not be accepted via the Q&A except for those individuals who requested the accommodation. As for order, committee members in person and virtually will be allowed to speak first. Public members in person will then be called on, followed by public participating virtually who have their hands raised. Comments in the Q&A and chat will be addressed last. As with all hybrid meetings, it can be difficult to keep track of all those wanting to speak in person and virtually, so please be patient. All comments and questions from committee members and the public may be limited to 3 minutes or less should we run into time constraints. So please keep that in mind. Also, comments about a person's character will not be allowed. Finally, members of the public will have the opportunity to provide public comment before each vote and during designated public comment periods. The chair may also use their discretion to determine if comments will be accepted outside of those times. Okay, the next item of business is the approval of the meeting summary for the April 30th Executive Committee meeting, which was distributed. The meeting summary will not be read unless a member requests it. Are there any corrections? If there's no objection, the meeting summary is approved as distributed. Hearing none, the meeting summary is approved. The next item of business is the consideration of vendors for the fiscal year 2027 action plan activities. The first activity is activity 2.1.2, creation of early identification of IDD documents. There's one vendor application to consider. The vendor is Milestone Mate LLC. First, we will have feedback and discussion from committee members. Afterward, we will get public comment. Ebony, do you have any insight to this, to start the discussion?
Like Renata said, this particular activity, you all wanted the contractor to send in proposals in order to create documents to help families and professionals understand early identification of intellectual and developmental delays for children. So Renata has already told you all that we had one applicant, Milestone Mate, and the executive committee rated the proposals based on certain criteria that are included in the table that's on the screen. One of the criteria was making sure that the applicant included all the elements that we required when we sent out the solicitation. They rated it on their project summary, their qualifications, their statement of need, the goals and objectives that they included, their outcomes, their action plan, and lastly, their evaluation strategies. And for Milestone Mate, you can see how the executive committee has rated Milestone Mate based on those criteria that were included in their application. The total points that an application can receive is 50. And as you can see, there were various totals for each of the executive committee members. I didn't get a chance to average it because I was missing a score, I think from Brooke. I don't know if you have your score for the evaluation strategies, Brooke, but if you give it to me, then I can maybe get the average. And then you guys can discuss this particular proposal.
Evaluation strat, okay, oh, yeah, okay, let me send that, hold on.
But if you all want to start the discussion, I see that there is like some, I guess, differences in the statement of need, the goals and objectives, the outcomes, and then the action plan. There were some numbers that were different in those categories for this particular applicant. So I don't know if the committee wants to discuss those, but those are areas where you all felt like it just seems like there were differences in the opinions of the executive committee about those particular criteria.
Okay, committee members, is there any discussion?
It's me, Angela. I'm raising my hand.
The chair recognizes you, Ms. Angela.
Thank you. I guess I was on the fence about them. I know they were the only ones that submitted actual a proposal, but some of it of like, okay, I'm trying to make sure it will be available to families throughout Louisiana, but how does it's going to be disseminated? I mean, I'm like, after the project ends, is it going to be online or is this thing what is, I'm not even sure what the Milestone platform is. So that was my concern. Is it easily accessible for parents? And once again, like I said, sometimes I know y'all say like in other regions, the internet may be sketchy or this, that, and the third. So I just kind of was on the fence. And I do remember sending Ebony my review proposal saying that I wanted to discuss this because I wasn't sure. I know they're the only ones that did submit, but I don't want to just take the first thing running, I guess. So that's my follow-up question. What does it look like you said, when the project ends, or how is it gonna be set up? If that makes sense. So maybe I missed that in reading it, because I did read it fast, but I don't know.
Thank you, Ms. Angela. Ebony, do you have like?
I can provide some insight based on the information that they included, Angela. It seemed to me that once they created the materials, after they did the focus groups and they tested those materials with like third-party individuals, they were going to take that feedback and not revamp, but I guess revise those materials. But then once the project's done, they're releasing all that to the council. So the council will be able to distribute it however you guys saw fit. I think one of the ideas that came out of the planning committee was that we could give it to the FHF centers, because they are the ones that do outreaches to pediatricians' offices, ABA clinics, schools. So we can disseminate the information however you guys would like, but it will be ours. Once those documents are created, the council can do whatever, and you can disseminate it however you want. And that's just my interpretation. I don't know if Stephanie or Brenton, you guys had any other thoughts based off their application? No, okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Ebony.
Yeah.
Brooke has her hand raised. The chair recognizes Ms. Brooke.
Hi, everyone. So I did research a little bit, the Milestone Mate app. It looks like it's a startup. And they had a good write-up on it in Biz New Orleans magazine in February. So I did read that. And it seems like it's a startup app. Um, and she does seem to have a lot of like she's doing other things as well, going to summits, and she seems involved. She looks like a UL grad. I think it would be a good opportunity to fund her, just like from what I was able to look and see. It looks like she has a neurodivergent daughter, and she's done a few, I guess more than a few, people have covered her Milestone Mate app for the Child's Progress Partner. It's a software platform. So I think it's just experimental, but it seems promising.
Thank you, Brooke, for that insight. Anyone else want to discuss Milestone? Anyone else have anything that they want to discuss? Is there something that we can, I know Ms. Angela stated, her concern was just taking the first one, the only thing that we have for this, the only proposal. How can we address that? Are we able to wait to see if someone else will send something, or we have to go with this one?
So just keep in mind that you guys are on the timeline. This project is scheduled to start October 1st.
Okay.
So if we don't choose anyone today, we can try to send it back out, but and we'll get into this when we talk about the activities that you all didn't receive any proposals for, but the executive committee would have to be given permission and authority to make the decision on behalf of the council if you guys didn't want to go with Milestone Mate, but it's not a certainty that we're gonna find someone else to apply for this particular grant.
Right.
So,
The chair recognizes you, Mr. Henry.
so that means basically, our back is basically like we didn't already say we gonna accept this first. I mean, you saying basically like our time is in October, so it's basically like it's like we got to accept this first.
Well, no, I don't want to say that you don't have to accept them, but if we send the solicitation back out, there is no guarantee that any other organizations are gonna apply for this.
Recognizes him. reiterate, I mean, the fact that no one applied for this, I think is something you should consider when you start thinking about if you do want to not go with this group and repost it. At that point, and as Ebony said, this will come up more in a future conversation in just a few minutes, but at that point, you might have to start thinking maybe it's the activity that is not of interest to people. And so if you're just wanting to stick this activity back out there, the same proposal, I mean, I would argue if no one submitted anything for the first go round, who's to say someone would submit again the second round? So then you might have to start thinking, okay, it's the activity that I need to change and not necessarily the proposal or the people that are applying for it.
That's good, Brandon. Thank you. The chair recommends.
Mine is kind of going back to Angela's point. If there was something, I guess, specific within the proposal, and this goes kind of, I guess, across any of the proposals, that you wanted to make sure was being done, or the council in general wanted to make sure that was being done, for example, like that these documents the council would receive for us to be able to distribute, or that we would be able to use this information statewide, like things like that. That kind of thing can be, those are things that are gonna be done like internally when we write the contract. So I don't want that to scare y'all away by reading the proposal, if that makes sense. When y'all are reading this proposal, because that's kind of like the background job of what we're doing on the back end, not really what you're seeing when you're reading the proposal. So I hope that kind of alleviates a little bit for you, Angela.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to what Stephanie just said. Angela, it did mention in the proposal that they aren't just doing this in their platform. These are gonna be actual documents that they create and that they're doing focus groups on and getting feedback from individuals and, individuals with disabilities and their families or parents. But also just kind of adding on to what Stephanie just said, whenever I spoke to Eric yesterday, he mentioned something about audio and visual for people that are deaf or hard of hearing and then maybe visually impaired. Will we be able to get the documents in Braille or in audio for those individuals? And so again, that's something that we can work on. If you guys see something in the proposal and you're like, well, I would really like to see this, that's feedback that you can give us as staff, and we'll make sure those things are included in our statement of work with the contractor. So just thinking about their budget, they only estimated that it would take them $9,000 to do this project. However, the council has allocated $10,000. So in our discussions with them, we would say, well, can you take that additional $1,000 and make the materials audio accessible and maybe for visually impaired individuals that need this information as well? So again, if you guys have suggestions, that's something that we can work with the contractors on whenever we are working out the statement of work with the contractors.
Okay,
I hope that helps.
thank you.
Oh,
Ebony.
yes. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Mr. Eric Taylor.
Yeah, and that's my basic concern. If that's what we want, the audio and the video, so everybody can hit it all in a circle. Do we have to do that, or do they have to do that?
So that's something that we can request when we're working things out during the contract period. Whenever we're negotiating with the contractor, that's something we can talk to them about, and hopefully they're willing to do that. Again, she only estimated that it would cost her $9,000, and the council has allocated $10,000. So I'm thinking she should be able to do that with an additional $1,000. It's just my opinion, I don't know.
Any other discussion from, committee members?
Angela has her hand raised.
The chair recognizes Angela Horman.
Okay, I agree with everything y'all saying. I do. That makes me feel a whole lot better. But let me ask you this. So some of the things she said, do we have input on some of, like when she said about seeking out evaluations? Will she explain what type of doctors and who are to perform some of these things for parents that don't know? Like when I found out, I went to the pediatrician, she's like, no, you got to be diagnosed by a neurologist. Okay, so some of those little fine detail and nuances, would that be there, or we have to say, hey, make sure you break it down this way? I also kind of want to know, how will she select her families? Will they? I don't know. It just seemed like there's still like little things that I wasn't sure about. But I'm not saying we shouldn't go with her, because I did look her up as well. She's been existing, I think, her platform since 2026. Some in my notes, but I'm willing to give her a chance. At least she did apply. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that even though she was the only one that applied, that we also can provide her with some feedback with this before she puts the whole packet together. That's the only thing I had. So I didn't want to not fund her. I just wanted us to, as I stated on my sheet, that I just wanted to discuss it because I wasn't sure about it. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Angela Harmon. This is all rich discussion, and it's greatly needed when selecting, a proposal. I think, Ebony, you did say that we are able to provide this feedback. We're able to use what Ms. Angela stated and everyone on the committee and bring that to her
Yeah.
to examine, right?
Angela, I'm pretty certain however she's selecting the families that she is gonna use to do those focus groups and get feedback on these materials. I'm pretty certain they're gonna know about like all the different types of doctors, but we can also put in that she solicits council members to sit in on those focus groups. So that you all, we can put in that into the contract. So, I mean, we're listening to all this feedback that you're providing. And we want to make sure that when we're working out the statement of work, if you guys decide to go with her, that we would include the information that or your concerns to make sure that the project is, the outcomes are based on what the council wants to see.
Okay, council members, just from this discussion, is there any other further discussion that okay, the chair recognizes Mr. Eric Taylor.
One question. If we decide to go with them, how long would it be that we go with them?
So all the council's contracts are for 1 year. So from October 1st, this year, 2026 to September 30th of 2027.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Again, any discussion from committee members?
Nope, not at this time, no hands raised.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
No hands raised.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion regarding a vendor recommendation for activity 2.12.
I'm sorry, Kristen. She just raised her hand.
Okay,
Is it too
let's
late?
go back.
Kristen Reed has her hand raised.
The chair recognizes Kristen, you stated?
Kristen Reed. Yes.
Kristen Reed. Okay.
Yes, the question I have is, who has the final approval for the information, the flyers and stuff?
Are you talking about the documents that she's gonna create, Kristen?
Yes.
So before she creates the document, she's using focus groups to get information that should be included in the documents. Once they're created, she's doing another round with those focus groups to get feedback on those materials. So, I mean, once she produces them, if the council isn't satisfied with what's been produced, I mean, and just again, as council staff, that's more of a management part. We know what the council would like to see, so we would make the decision of whether or not the materials are, up to par and again, meeting the activity that the council and, you know, the goal that the council wants to see with this activity. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I was just wondering if, since the committee had so many concerns, you know, if, a presentation or something before they become final could be done for the council.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that is the will of the council, yeah, we could ask the contractor to come and present before the materials are, finalized.
Okay.
Probably at one of the quarterly meetings. I'm thinking since she'll be done in September, the July meeting will probably be most appropriate. If that's something that the council would like to see.
I was just wondering if it was even an option. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christian. Is there any more public comment?
And they can stop.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion regarding a vendor recommendation for activity 2.12. Okay, Mr. Eric Taylor. Is there a second?
Brooke has her hand raised.
This is Brooke Stewart. I second.
Thank you, Brooke. It is moved and seconded to recommend a vendor, recommend Milestone Mate as a vendor recommendation for activity 2.12. Is there any further discussion? Any other public comment?
Not at this time.
Thank you. We will have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion to recommend Milestone Mate for vendor recommendation for activity 2.12, when your name is called, say yes. If you are opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Ebony, please call the roll, please.
Ms. Jill Hano,
Yes.
Ms. Jill Hano, yes. Ms. Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Ms. Angela Harmon, yes. Ms. Brooke Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Brooke Stewart, yes, and Mr. Eric Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. Eric Taylor, yes. That's 4 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, the yeses have it and the motion is adopted. Thank you, executive committee members. Okay, moving on, the next activity is activity 2.2.3, workforce development and emergency preparedness. There's one vendor application to consider. The vendor is Disability Access Solutions. First, as we did for the first proposal, we will have feedback and discussion from committee members. Afterward, we will get public comment. Ebony, do you have any insight to start the discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna share that same table that I did for this particular, activity. Just
Okay.
keep in mind, I always like to remind y'all as a committee that we wanna make sure that whoever's applying for the activities, that they're meeting what you guys said you wanted in the activity. So the activity is to build the capacity of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to meet their own needs through workforce development and emergency preparedness training. So again, you guys allocated $50,000 for this particular activity. And I want to mention that Disability Access Solutions, their proposal is a 3-year proposal, although the funding that's included in that application was only for 1 year. But they are proposing to do this for 3 years. And the reason is because they think that they should break up the regions. So in year 1, they will focus on the Southwest region, regions 4 and 5, that's Lafayette and Lake Charles area. The second year, they would focus on North and Central Louisiana, so Shreveport, Monroe, Alexandria, that area. And then in the third year, they would focus on Southeast Louisiana, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and the surrounding areas. So, just keep that in mind when you guys are looking at this proposal, because next year they are gonna submit another one to, continue their work in those different regions that they recommended. And that is pretty much, I think, all I wanted to say. You guys can see how you guys scored this particular proposal. And it got pretty high ratings. I know one of you all scored it only a 27. So you may want to have some discussion. It looks like someone felt like the action plan wasn't, I guess, laid out well, and then maybe the evaluation strategies weren't what you guys wanted to see. So if you have feedback for us when we are negotiating, if you choose this particular contractor, we can put those things in the statement of work, just like we said last time. And
Yes, does Chair recognize Stephanie?
Oh, I just wanted to tell y'all, that the average for the total was a 42. So 42 out of 50 points total average for all of you.
Okay, thank you so much. Committee members, is there any discussion? I would like to, not to, put anyone on the spot, but just for, discussion purposes, the 27 score. Do you mind just sharing a little insight for us on, the action plan? I think that's good to consider, when we're, recommending this, disability access solution. So do you wanna, I can't see names, sorry, I don't have my glasses on, but I just want a little bit of insight on the score. I think that Brooke Stewart, do you mind just sharing a little bit about that?
I was a 27 score.
Yes, ma'am.
Hold on, let me look.
Okay, and if not, it's okay.
Hold on, I'm looking back through.
Brooke is looking, anyone want to share the highlights of disability access solutions?
Jill has her hand raised.
The chair recognizes Jill. Brooke, I will come back to you. Let's get some, I want to get Jill, highlights of it real quick. Jill?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, fine. You're on mute, Jill.
Ebony, I did have a question because I noticed some when you did the plain language proposals, the requested funding was different than the proposals sent by the applicant, and I just didn't understand what that was about. Like, 'cause on the title page that disability access solution submitted, it said 50,000, but on the page, the plain language document, it said 66,666 dollars and 67 cents, and I didn't understand why that was so, those totals are so far apart.
Jill, so every contractor that we contract with is required to meet a federal match. So the council is only providing $50,000. The reason why that other number, the reason why they included the other number is because they totaled our portion, the council's portion, plus their match. Their match will be $16,667.67. So she included the match that they're going to have to include for the
Oh,
project in her
okay.
total.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jill. Okay. Good. Okay, I'm sorry, Brooke, we're back to you, if okay. If you wanted to, just share a little bit on, the action plan.
I think I was I was not, I was reading, I must have misunderstood. I didn't realize they were the only applicant for this action item or activity.
Okay, okay. Can you scoot over a little bit, Beverly? Okay, any further discussion from, council members on, disability access solution? Anything that we need to, any feedback that we need to give to this vendor if it is, selected? Anything that we need to give the staff? Okay, is there any public comment? All right, the chair will entertain a motion regarding a vendor recommendation for activity 2.2.3.
Has her hand raised.
The chair recognizes Jill.
I recommend that we, Ebony, I, what am I trying to say? I recommend that it be brought to the full council that we use disability access solutions for activity 2.2.3 in fiscal year 27.
Thank you, Jill. Is there a second?
I second. This is Brooke Stewart.
It is moved and seconded by Brooke Stewart to recommend disability access solutions as a vendor recommendation for activity 2.2.3. Is there any further discussion? Any other public comment? Okay, we will have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion to recommend disability access solutions as a vendor recommendation for activity 2.2.3, when your name is called, say yes. If you are opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Ebony, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Jill Hano?
Yes.
Ms. Jill Hano, yes. Ms. Angela Harmon?
Yes.
Ms. Angela Harmon, yes. Ms. Brooke Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Brooke Stewart, yes. Mr. Eric Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, yes. We have 4 yeses.
Okay, the yeses have it and the motion is adopted. Thank you, members. The last activity is activity 3.1.3, partnership with schools on transition training. There are 3 vendor applications to consider. The vendors are Bayou Land Families Helping Families, Disability Rights, Louisiana, and Southwest Louisiana Independent Center, Inc. As with the previous proposals, we will have feedback and discussion from committee members. Afterward, we will get public comment. Ebony, do you have any insights to start the discussion?
Again, I'm gonna focus on the activity because I know these were great applications that were submitted for this particular activity. I would just, and you guys had similar scores. Everybody scored these applications pretty well, so I think it's gonna be up to you guys to look at those little differences that each one of those applicants brings in order to make a decision for this particular activity. But just keep in mind that council wants to see partnership with the schools to make sure that not only the individuals with development or students with developmental disabilities and their families are educated on transition, but also the educators. And that's on those things, including waivers, benefits, counseling, and job support services. So if you look at the scores for each of these, you guys scored them very well. So Bayou Land, I think on average, probably had 49. Disability Rights Louisiana, maybe on average had maybe 46, because there were 250s, 2 perfect scores in there. And then Southwest Louisiana Independent Center, I would say on average, theirs was probably 45.
Committee members, is there any discussion?
Have your hand raised. Oh, I'm sorry. Angela has her hand raised too. Eric will go first.
The chair recognizes Eric Taylor.
Can I request for a little bit of a read on? I cannot do that.
But I didn't hear the request.
A little information read on all of them. I'll provide it.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this screen and then I'm gonna pull up the document, the plain language document that that was created for this meeting, because there's a table in there that may be helpful in this discussion.
I think you have at least 2 people here. Like, I think Jackie from Bayou Land is here. I think Philip is with the Southwest Independent Living Center, I believe. I'm not sure if someone's here with DRLA or not. There's a couple of names on here I'm not familiar with, so I don't know if you have any of the proposal representatives here, but you can always ask them questions as well,
Okay.
if they are present.
All right.
So the executive director from Bayou Land Families Helping Families is here if you want her to kind of give you, but what I was gonna pull up now is the document that I sent you all. There was a comparison table in that document. And maybe that could help answer some of your questions, Eric. So let me just get to it. Hold on 1 second. I didn't have it pulled up.
Erica Joseph has her hand raised. If you would like to.
You might not have to put it out each one.
into it. I have it, I'm gonna share it.
Are you fine if we, if I take a? Oh, she lowered, he lowered. Well, also, Ms. Harmon had her hand up, correct? She did. Okay, while we're waiting, we'll just take Ms. Angela's, Ms. Angela, the chair recognizes you.
Yes, ma'am. All I was gonna comment on as far as this particular Bayou Lands proposal, I did love the concept of educating the families, like I said, and working with the teachers and faculty before student leaves high school. Only thing I wrote a side note, I'm not sure why now, but the con was that it was regional. I wasn't sure how does everybody, is it statewide, I guess, or is it regional? And I think that's where my only kind of concern. Um, and on the sidebar note, I did like that one of the other proposals had the little checklist toolbox toolkit that you could kind of check your list off for transition to make it easier for parents. So maybe some of that idea could be proposed with this idea, but I wasn't sure about, like I said, if this was a statewide, and I may have just missed it trying to read it, or was just in that area. And then once they do this, I guess they'll give it to us just like the other proposals, and then we can disseminate it how we want. I was looking for my sheet, Ebony. I can't find it, but thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Angela.
So Jackie has her hand raised, so I'm gonna allow her to answer that question, Angela.
Ms. Jackie, the chair recognizes you.
Hi, good morning. This is Jackie from Bayou Land. To respond to Ms. Harmon, this would be open statewide. Obviously, my reach is a lot easier within my region, but I do have several people that I collaborate, several organizations that I collaborate that would be willing to share out flyers, provide information, and of course, I'm part of the Families Helping Families Network. So I would lean on them a bit for support if necessary as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I did personally, all of the proposals were very great, but Bayou, I think it had more of a comprehensive approach with the things that we are wanting for the activity. So that's something to look at as well, but they were really great proposals. But Bayou did have just a more comprehensive approach to the things that we are wanting in the, in the activity. So let's kind of look at that too.
Jackie raised her hand again.
Ms. Jackie, the chair recognizes you.
Thank you. This is Jackie again with Bayou Land. And I did want to say that I am able to kind of look at it from both ends of the table because I do have experience as a special education teacher. So I understand how the schools can work with the families, how the schools can work as a unit to support and build foundations for gainful employment after high school.
Thank you, Ms. Jackie. Job well done.
Okay.
The chair recognizes Eric Taylor.
No.
Oh. The chair unrecognizes Eric Taylor. Everything.
So I just want to make sure that all of your questions are answered, Eric.
Yes, I'm clear.
Do you have the comparison table? Can you look at it? I mean, are you looking at it? And if you have any questions, I think Mr. Phillip is here from Southwest Louisiana Independence Center. So he can answer questions as well. I do have a question, Phillip, if you can. I want to clarify that as well, because I think the way Jackie's proposal read, it seemed like it was for local, it was just like local partnership, but she just clarified that it would be statewide. In your proposal, I noticed that you would work with the Lafayette Parish School District. And so I just want to also clarify that for the committee members, if you can, if your proposal is statewide as well, because I think the way it read was that you were going to focus on Lafayette Parish. So if you can you provide a little bit more information for the committee?
Yes, thank you, Ebony. This is Philip with Southwest Louisiana Independence Center. And yes, when we developed the proposal, it was focused on the Lafayette region, so Region 4, because that's where we would mainly start out at. We do have partnerships with the other centers for independent living, but I haven't got any verbal confirmation that they'd be willing to assist in this. So I didn't want to overcommit and under-deliver. But we do have partnerships through the Statewide Independent Living Council and the other two CILs that do statewide coverage. We would not possibly, out of our Lafayette office, be able to go throughout the state and hit all the schools because we really want to focus on being in the schools and educating the educators and the counselors. So we wouldn't have the resources to do that across all parishes in the state. But as far as disseminating information, the information would be available. I've recently updated our website that's about to be launched where we actually releasing resources on a digital level. So all that would be made available statewide as well. But with our activities of being in schools, that's why we focused on Lafayette, because that's the school system we can get in and really develop this to expand possibly in the future to encompass more of our state and more parishes.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip. The chair recognizes Eric Taylor.
So the question I asked the table to do is it all right? I really got my questions down, what I needed to know. So what I want to say, it don't really need to be read now. I just wanted to deeply get the question, if I'm making sense to y'all, what I needed to really understand, and I got what I need to really understand. If that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Eric Taylor. Thank you, Ebony, and thank everyone else for discussing. Any other public comment or any other discussion from committee members? I want to make sure. Committee members, is there any discussion, anything that further that you would like to discuss with these proposals?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. Any public comment?
None at this time.
The chair will entertain a motion regarding a vendor recommendation for activity 3.13.
You have a hand raised now, or she just lowered it?
This is Angela. I would like to recommend for activity 3.1.3 Bayou Land as a vendor.
Thank you, Ms. Angela. Is there a second? It is moved and seconded to recommend Bayou families.
I'm putting it up.
Helping families.
Putting it up now, Renato. I'm putting it
Okay.
up on the screen.
Okay, it is moved and seconded by Angela Harmon and Eric Taylor to recommend Bayou Land Families Helping Families as the vendor for activity 3.13. Is there any further discussion? Any other public comment? Okay, we will now have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion to recommend Bayou Land Families Helping Families as the vendor for activity 3.13, please say yes when your name is called. If you're opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Ebony, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Jill Hano,
Yes.
Ms. Jill Hano, yes. Ms. Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Ms. Angela Harmon, yes. Ms. Brooke Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Brooke Stewart, yes. Mr. Eric Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, yes. Yeah, 4 yeses or yeses.
Okay, the yeses have it, and the motion is adopted. Thank you, members. Okay, the next item of business is the consideration of council membership. Ebony, do you want to give a?
Well, before we go to that, I have an update on the activities that you all did not receive.
Okay.
Proposals on.
Okay,
So for activity 2.2.2, that was your transportation study. You also didn't receive any proposals for activity 3.1.4, which was the curriculum for childcare providers. And lastly, activity 3.2.1, and that was the job fairs. However, yesterday, we did receive 2 proposals after the deadline. And I realized it was after the deadline, however, and under normal circumstances, I would have told the applicant that they should apply next year because they missed the deadline, but there were 2 reasons I wanted you all to consider the applications. The first reason is because this person applied for activity 2.2.2 and activity 3.2.1, the job fairs and the transportation study. And the council did not receive any proposals for either of those activities. The second reason is because the applicant is the executive director from Families Helping Families of Greater Baton Rouge. And she was just hired as executive director. So she might have been getting acclimated with her new position, and she just didn't have the time to submit her proposals before the deadline. But I at least wanted to give you all the opportunity to review her proposals and determine if you want to move forward, or the council staff had come up with suggestions because we didn't think we were gonna have any proposals for those activities. So I can give you those options that we came up with as staff, or you guys can decide to review the proposals and make a recommendation to the council. It's up to the committee.
okay, committee members. What would you guys like to do?
And we can take them one at a time if you want. If you
That's
guys
fine.
want to hear the options that the staff had for the transportation study, I can do that, and then you can decide whether or not you want to review and maybe do a recommendation for her transportation proposal, or go with the recommendations from the staff.
Committee members, would you like to hear the recommendations from the staff? Chair recognizes
Yes.
Eric Taylor.
Yes, we're gonna
Okay.
deal with that.
I
Okay.
would.
Okay, so everyone agrees that we're gonna hear the recommendations made by the staff. Go ahead.
Okay, so for activity 2.2.2, that's the transportation study. After we did not receive any proposals for that particular activity, the staff reached out to other DD councils across the country. And we also did a little research on what was already being done in Louisiana. And for Louisiana, we found that the Department of Transportation, or DOTD, they actually completed a plan in 2022 that identified the needs of transit in Louisiana. Now, the plan doesn't really give us any sort of advocacy orders, but it does share some really good information about the needs. And that includes people with disabilities. And it also looks like they may have had like planning organizations in place that are meant to continuously look at solving these sorts of issues to improve transit, but we're not exactly sure when they meet. So we would actually have to do a little bit more research. Now, the information that we received back from the other councils was that the council may not have allocated enough funding towards this particular activity. Y'all allocated $45,000. So I'm gonna give y'all an example. The Ohio Council responded to our request, and they actually put a total of $125,000 in their transportation study. They did it in multiple stages. I think the first stage, they gave $50,000. The second stage, they gave $75,000. So you all only put $45,000 towards this particular activity. Other councils that reached out, Tennessee, they're equivalent to our DOTD, which is the Department of Transportation. They actually work with them to create the nation's first Office of Accessible Transportation. So they did some advocacy with their legislature, and they actually got an office created to look at this specifically for individuals with disabilities. So bottom line, we were gonna suggest that you all change this particular activity to allow the staff to do more research to determine, number one, what type of money you guys should be allocating for this particular activity, and to see if it's more of an advocacy thing, since Louisiana already has something sort of in place. So we were gonna recommend not doing this activity, taking that $45,000 and maybe allocating it towards another activity that you already have. And allowing the staff to do more research and come into the 2028 planning committee with that research so that they can make a decision and a recommendation to the council for the next action plan in 2020.
Okay,
So that's our suggestion. The other option is that you all review the application that was submitted yesterday.
okay, thank you, Ebony. Council members, keep that in mind, what you just mentioned. I'm gonna take Stephanie's hand is raised, and then we're gonna come back to that. Stephanie?
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to also mention that when the state that Ebony mentioned, I don't remember what it was, when they did their study, that was $50,000. I want to say that was like 2021. So we have to also remember inflation. So $50,000 in 2021, you know, that's probably closer to like $70,000 now. And I'm just ballparking. That's why our recommendation was for that research to look into cost and to see kind of what that range would look like for what a study of this kind of like proportion would cost the council, and just to make sure that whatever contractor we used would be able to get us the information that we would actually need and want.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. All right, council members,
Jill has her hand raised.
we'll go, the chair recognizes you, Jill.
I just perused the two proposals on from Greater Baton Rouge, and they do like look really pretty. there is technically appealing them, that's wrong, you're saying it.
Thank you, Jill. Any other committee members who would like to discuss, how to move forward with this particular activity? The chair recognizes Eric Taylor.
I recommend we don't do it, get more research, and we can put that somewhere else until we really find out what we, correct me if I'm right, funds to do this.
Okay, so we have one committee member so far that feels that we should allow the staff more time to research. Anyone else agree with that?
Ms. Angela Harmon had her
The
hand.
chair recognizes Angela.
I do agree with that, but like Jill just said, looking at it because I did review it last night and looking at the key facts, it does sound really well. Like it's a really good plan. It just may be a bigger task than what we're thinking. Now, if she can collaborate with the cats and whoever already did the survey, it might give her a little bit upper hand as far as maybe not taking as long for her to propose certain things. But I'm with Mr. Taylor too. Maybe we should just let the staff do a little bit more research. But this was a really good proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angela. Any other council member agrees to allow the staff to conduct further research? Any public comment?
At this time.
Okay,
Oh, can I have some input?
yes.
So what we recommending, if you look on the screen, activity 2.2.2, right now, in the plan that's approved, it reads provide funding, support, and technical assistance to complete a study on transportation needs. And I can't see, hold on, I gotta go. Barriers throughout the state of Louisiana for individuals with IDD. We're recommending that you guys change this activity for it to say, conduct the research in order to complete a study on transportation needs.
Thank you, Ebony. Give me a moment.
share like some wording that I we never thought, but I can tweak this wording.
Okay. Is there a motion for staff to conduct research needed to complete a study on transportation needs and barriers throughout the state of Louisiana for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to be presented for the FY 2028 action plan? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it, DeSangela.
Okay, it is moved and seconded to, for the staff to conduct research needed to complete a study on transportation needs and barriers throughout the state of Louisiana for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to be presented for the FY 2028 action plan. Is there any further discussion? Any other public comment? We will now have a roll call vote.
Before I do the vote, can you verify who made the motion? I'm sorry.
It was Eric and Miss Angela.
Angela seconded. Okay.
Okay, we will now have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion, when your name is called, say yes. If you're opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Emily, could you please call the roll?
Miss Jill Hano,
Yes.
Miss Jill Hano, yes. Miss Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Miss Angela Harmon, yes. Miss Brooke Stewart. I think we lost Brooke. Mr. Eric Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Eric Taylor, yes. You have 3 yeses.
Okay, the yeses have it and the motion is adopted and will be presented to the full council for approval. Thank you, committee members. The next item of business. Oh, no, hold on.
Let's go to activity 3.1.4. That's the curriculum for childcare. I'm happy Stephanie's back because we actually reached out to 2 organizations directly, including our sister agency, LSU, the Human Development Center, to determine if they would be interested. They responded that they were a little confused about the cost share. So we explained the cost share to them and they are considering applying for this particular activity. I also reached out to another organization that one of the other DD councils recommended to us. So we do have 2 people that we've reached out to that may be interested in this curriculum. At this time, we don't suggest that you all make any changes because we're hopeful that at least LSU would apply for this particular activity. So I will say that if they decide to apply, the council will have to give the executive committee authority and permission to approve that application so that they can start the work. Because we're not gonna have it before the council meeting tomorrow. Or we're not gonna know before the council meeting tomorrow. And then lastly, activity 3.2.1, do we need to do anything on that, Nicole? Do they need to make a motion?
So, the recommendation is to allow Cause the deadline is passed, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, the recommendation would be to allow the executive committee to have authority to review any applications that come in after the deadline and to to review and select vendors for any applications that come in for activity 3.1. Is it?
I think it is 3.1.
I'm so sorry.
Chair recognizes Stephanie.
Could we say for both of the next two? Because wouldn't it be the next two activities?
If they decide,
If they decide for,
Oh, yes.
yeah, because,
so maybe pin that one.
Well,
yes.
Well, because they're two separate
Okay,
things, if someone doesn't want one but wants
Okay.
the other,
I understand.
both of them would fail if you lump them together.
I understand. Thank you.
So you should probably separate them out just to
Okay.
ensure that everyone wants this one and everyone.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Repeat the language, Nicole, for me.
I think that the recommendation to the council regarding activity 3.1.4 is to give the executive committee authority to review and approve any vendor applications that come in after the deadline. I think that covers it because, there was a deadline, so they'll be coming in after the deadline. It gives EC the authority to review them and then to make the decision or to approve a vendor. Yeah, all of the variables are there. And then when we get to the next one, you can just.
Is that? Actually, hold on, I'm sorry.
After, yes. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So you just need someone to make that motion.
Motion.
And Jill had her hand raised. I'm not sure if she still needed to speak.
Hello.
The chair recognizes Jill Hayno.
Okay. I mean, this is out of order now, so I don't know, but like, how does that work with the transportation study? Like, if, from my understanding, like, if we're moving it to the 28 action plan. So how do we do the but wouldn't we still have this action plan with two activities that are not gonna be addressed this fiscal year? Like, how would that work?
Good question, Jill.
So Jill, the council is you guys have decided to do, well, the executive committee is recommending to the council still has to approve that the transportation study be taken off. So that $45,000 you all are gonna have to reallocate to another activity. I will say that tomorrow you all were gonna have to ratify the plan anyway, based on the public comment that you all received. So at this point, tonight, I'm going to make the changes to the action plan. Based off the recommendations that you all are making, but it still has to go before the full council.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and I mean, it was already on the agenda for you all to ratify the plan based on those public comments. If you all were going to make any changes based on those comments.
Okay, I didn't realize that it was did we get any public comment?
Yes, ma'am, I sent them to you.
Oh, you did?
I sent them to the council, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken. I sent you guys the original version and a plain language version of each one.
Oh. Ah. All right, well, my bad.
Thank you, Jill. Okay?
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, is there a motion? Okay, is there a motion, to provide the executive committee authority to review and approve applications for activity 3.1.4 submitted after the deadline? That was, it's already up there, but it was, a motion by Eric Taylor. Is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Angela.
It's moved and seconded by Angela Harmon. Is there any further discussion? Okay, any other public comment? Okay, we will have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion to provide the executive committee authority to review and approve applications for activity 3.1.4 submitted after the deadline, when your name is called, say yes. If you are opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Ebony, could you call the roll? Yes.
Ms. Jill Hano,
Yes.
Ms. Jill Hano, yes. Ms. Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Ms. Angela Harmon, yes. Ms. Brooks Ford, I think she's still gone. Mr. Eric Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, yes. You have 3 yeses.
Okay, the yeses have it, and the motion is adopted. Thank you, committee members. Okay. Next, I need a motion to recommend that the executive committee have authority to review and approve applications for activity 3.2.1 submitted after the deadline.
I motion to approve.
Okay? Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'm sorry. What'd y'all say? What'd you second in?
The motion, to recommend that the executive committee, have authority to review and approve applications for activity 3.2.1 after the deadline.
Oh yeah, I'll second that. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Angela. Is there any further discussion? Any other public comment? Okay, we will have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion to recommend that the executive committee have the authority to review and approve applications for activity 3.2.1 submitted after the deadline, when your name is called, say yes. If you're opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Ebony, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Jill Hano,
Yes.
Ms. Jill Hano, yes. Ms. Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Ms. Angela Harmon, yes. Ms. Brooks Stewart, Mr. Eric Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Eric Taylor, yes. You have 3 yeses.
Okay, the yeses have it and the motion is adopted. Thank you, committee members. The next item of business is the consideration of council membership. Ebony, would you like to start that discussion?
Yes. Hold on one second, okay. So, we have had a resignation. He did share the email with us is Mr. Mike Billings. His last day is gonna be July 31st. And, normally we would send out our, advertisement to advertise for new members to apply for the council, for council membership. However, instead of having a membership committee and sending out an advertisement this year, we recommend you all considering resubmitting the names that were submitted for council membership last year and that they were approved at the October meeting last year. And the reason why I am recommending that is because those individuals, the individuals that were put on the council were governor recommended. And so the recommendations that the council submitted to the governor last November, those individuals, I don't want to say they weren't considered, but the governor chose to appoint other people that weren't recommended by the council. One individual in particular, Ms. Audrey Gilliam, she's from Shreveport, and currently the council has no representation in central Louisiana or North Louisiana. So Ms. Gilliam lives in Shreveport, she's a parent, and you all recommended her, excuse me, last year. And so my recommendation would be to, or my suggestion to the committee for consideration is to consider Ms. Audrey Gilliam submitting her name again to the governor's office for appointment because she would satisfy the federal requirement that you all have to have members in every area of the state. And currently you have no members in the central Louisiana area on up to the north part of Louisiana. So that would be my recommendation instead of you all advertising for another spot to fill that that vacant seat once Mr. Billings' time is over on the 31st.
Thank you, Ebony. The chair recognizes Eric Taylor.
I recommend that she be considered.
Is that a motion?
So it's motion. So.
Okay, so the motion will be to approve resignation of Mike Billings and recommend reconsideration of Audrey Gillum to resubmit her application. Okay.
A motion.
Or if she did, right? Okay, is there a second to the motion that's on the screen?
The recommendation.
Yes,
of the
I'll
executive.
second it.
Thank you, Jill.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, for clarification, the second part is a recommendation to the council, or are they approving to go ahead and do that? Just for clarity. In other words, does the council have to give a thumbs up on this?
I would say yes.
Okay, so then and the second part is a recommendation to the council for resubmission of Audrey Gill, yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay, it is moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Mike Billings and recommends resubmission of Audrey Gillum to the Governor's Office of Boards and Commissions for council membership. Okay, is there any further discussion? Any other public comment? Okay. We will now have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion to accept the resignation of Mike Billings and recommend resubmission of Audrey Gillum to the Governor's Office of Boards and Commissions, when your name is called, say yes. If you are opposed, say no. If you are abstaining, say abstain. Emily, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Jill Hano,
I don't accept his resignation, but yes.
Jill Hano, yes. Miss Angela Harmon,
Yes.
Miss Angela Harmon, yes. Ms. Brooke Stewart, Mr. Eric Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Eric Taylor, yes. 3 yeses.
Okay, the yeses have it and the motion is adopted and will be presented to the full council. Thank you, committee members. The next item of business is the consideration of council member absences. If there's no objection, we will go into executive session. Hearing none, we are now in executive session. It is 11:36.
Angela and Jill, I will send you all the link for executive session.